we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So let's back up. Every so often a gun comes out that genuinely excites me. A gun where I sell other guns to have cash ready to go. The launch of a new 2011 is like the launch of a new supercar. They've got insane styling and performance that's on the bleeding edge of what can be accomplished. And I don't mean new, as in an existing manufacturer rehashing some old parts from a bin into a new model. I mean an entirely new 2011. This is the Fowler Industries Vanta 9. And I know what you're thinking. My God, it's sexy. And you'd be correct. From the aluminum grip module to the Barstow match fit barrel to the sheer lines of the thing. But none of that really matters if it doesn't shoot good. So, about that. To have a conversation about the Fowler, I think we have to start with a little bit of a state of the union of the 2011 market. Now, I think we're in an interesting place right now, which is we have a void, right? We have $2,000 to $2,500 production staccatos, and then we have $5,000 Atlas, Nighthawk, all of the big players inside of that space. And the reality is there's very little in between those two, right? You have the entry point and then you go to high end and there's nothing in the middle. And I know everyone is gonna say, well, what about Triarch? Look, if you wanna spend your money on Triarch, go for it. I can just tell you, I would be running for the hills from getting a modern production Triarch right now. Fowler is in an interesting spot because I think the best way to think about this is like a semi-custom pistol. It is a production gun in the sense that, look, it is a fixed model, right? You're not picking where your serrations go and all that. It is not a custom pistol. It is a production gun. But it's getting the treatment of a custom pistol in the sense that, look, all the parts are being hand fit, right? That's why you get a very, very tight lockup on the gun. You will see that if you get hands on one of these. And the MSRP is $4,000, right? So you're right in between being a production gun and sort of this custom gun. You have a price that's in the middle, and yet, how is it? Is it actually worth $4,000? Okay, guys, so let's take you on a little bit of tour of the Vanta 9. So the first thing, and it is the first thing that you notice when you first see this gun, is the aluminum grip module. This is a huge, huge value add for this gun. Standard 2011s are gonna come with basically plastic grips, right? It's gonna be a polymer grip module. If you're unfamiliar with these pistols, the firearm actually has nothing to do with the grip, unlike most pistols. The firearm itself is actually basically the lower and kind of the rails and all this stuff. You can replace grip modules on 2011s fairly easily, but I can also tell you that, hey, look, these aluminum grip modules, I have them on one other 2011, are extremely nice, and it's a very, look, when we start talking about $4,000 pistol and where does this fit into the 2011 market, this is a very critical point, because these grip modules, probably 500 bucks roughly if you go to buy one. So it's a very, very nice feature. The grip on it is pretty moderate actually. It's less grippy than the other one that I have. I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, I think this is in kind of a nice neutral sweet spot where when you really dig into the grip, you do get a nice bite, but you're never at that point of like, hey, this is kind of uncomfortable. Or when I start getting sweaty, which I have been today and have sunblock on that guy right there, I'm not hitting a point where it's like, okay, it's not grippy enough. Right in that kind of perfect moderate zone is where I would describe it. Gun comes with another very nice feature, which is a beefy magwell. It's very nicely machined, but you do have a pretty generous opening there that's gonna make your reloads very, very efficient. Other features on the frame, obviously it's a full dust cover, full length rail for your lights, or if there's something else that you guys attach to that. You have a double undercut. So undercut number 1 being right here, that is designed to help you get a high purchase on the gun. And then undercut number 2 is gonna be right here. It's just really a little index point for that support side, what is this, index finger, so that you can build the grip from there as you're punching out. A couple other nice features on the frame. Gun comes standard with an ambidextrous safety. I am a lefty, for those of you that do not know that, so I'm operating the safety from this side of the gun. Very nice, positive engagement on that safety. You do have some thumb texture. This is a bit unique. You don't see this on many 2011s. It is a feature that you see on many stipple jobs of Glocks, where you put a little ledge or a little bit of texture right here where your support side thumb would go. Don't see it on a lot of metal guns like this, and it is cool. Again, nice reference point to be able to build your grip from that position right there. The big question on any 2011, 1911 is, how is the trigger? And typically it's a question of, well, how good is the trigger? So it's always impossible for you to tell this via a lens and a camera, but very, very slight take up. And then this particular trigger has a 3-pound trigger pull. It is definitely the nicest 2011 trigger that I currently own, and it might be between 2011 and 1911, the best trigger in all that category of guns that I own. It is incredibly, incredibly nice. It was funny because when I talked to Fowler when I first got the gun, he was like, hey, that trigger's a little bit heavy for me. He was like, it's 3 pounds, and I dry fired it, and I was like, how light are the other ones, you know? And I mean, he's getting down to like couple pound triggers on these things, which is just crazy, which, hey, look, if this is a duty gun or sort of all-purpose gun, I don't really think you're gonna wanna go that light. But if it's a competition gun, which this certainly would do well as, go for it. But I'm just telling you, this 3-pound trigger for me is right in that sweet spot. I wouldn't go any lighter than that. Couple other features on the frame. So the standard grip length is going to be for a 17-round mag. These are MBX mags that hold, I think, like 23 rounds, because this particular one has the follower that does not lock the slide back, right? So even an empty mag doesn't lock the slide back. Standard flush fit mags are going to be 17-round capacity. One other interesting note on the frame is that you're going to have a non-functional, not have a grip safety, right? So this beaver tail is not going to be functional, right? So it's going to be pinned, and however that process works. For some people, that's going to be a pro. For some people, that's going to be a con. It's really, you know, I don't care that much either way. All it's going to get you around is, hey, look, your safety is the thumb safety versus also having to disengage that grip safety on the frame in order to fire. Let's talk about the barrel. It's a very significant point. So the gun is a 5-inch or government length pistol. The barrel is a Barstow hand-fit match-grade barrel. It's a very, very nice barrel. That would be really like the gold standard for whether it be a 2011 or 1911 or even a Glock. One of the things that I really liked about what Fowler did with Glocks, and I don't say did as in he doesn't do it anymore, but it's just, this is, you know, obviously going to be his baby right now, but is that even on Glocks, he hand-fit the Barstow barrels, and you got a really tight lockup, which for a Glock is a little bit uncommon. So here, also going to have a very tight lockup on the barrel. It's a bull barrel, so it's not going to have a bushing. That will make your life a little bit easier in terms of the disassembly. It has a very unique feature in terms of getting the barrel out with the guide rod. It's going to be a Dawson toolless assembly, which when you first get it, it's going to take a second to figure out how the hell do I take the recoil spring out. And then once you understand it, you're like, that is a fantastic system and it's awesome. You just might be frustrated for about 30 seconds. So we've got a bull barrel that is also fluted. The bull barrel is going to add a little bit of weight to the gun. The fluting is actually going to remove a little bit of weight to help shave some weight off of the gun. Despite looking like a very heavy pistol, it is a heavy pistol, but it's way lighter than you would think given the overall size of the package, if you will. The fluting is also going to help the barrel cool a little bit. And again, you've got an extremely tight lockup on that barrel. Another very nice value add for the pistol is that it comes red dot cut. Now, it's going to be cut for an RMR footprint. Good news for those of you that don't know, that will also perfectly accept a Holosun 507C. I can also just tell you, as one of the first people to have this pistol, that the factory Holosun screws will work fine. You don't need to worry about getting RMR screws or anything like that to work with your Holosun. Your factory screws are going to work just fine on this. So Holosun, RMR, take your pick. If you don't want to run this as a red dot pistol, no problem. The gun comes with an iron sight plate, so you can take off the dot, you can throw on the plate, and then you've just got standard, albeit tall, I don't know if they'd be all the way at suppressor height sights, but they are approaching that. In terms of their overall height, hey, they're gonna be a 1/3 co-witness inside of that window. So, hey, look, if I'm running, and I'm running a Holosun 507C with the green dot, just for anyone that was curious about that, if you're running your red dot and the red dot went out, no problem. You do have backup irons that are in that window. They're just gonna be in the bottom third of that window. I have not really had an issue with them obscuring, they do not obscure the dot, but it hasn't really bothered me. Once you start focusing on dot mechanics, the iron sights become a non-issue. This gun has a Dawson front sight, the subsequent ones, given that, again, this is a very early gun to come off of the line, if you will. The other ones will come with Warren front sights. The slide is extremely, extremely attractive. You've got serrations all over the place. So you have these ones that are all the way up here that I would just say personally are mostly aesthetic, because I don't know what I'm gonna be, you know, what am I doing with this grip? But we have the traditional sort of meaty serrations up here for doing your press checks or whatever you want to do with that. Good meaty serrations in the back, and then you do have these serrations that are all the way in the rear that are mostly aesthetic and a little bit of a fail-safe option in case you were racking your slide and you missed. At least you can grip under those serrations that are all the way in the back and still rack your slide. Very attractive slide design. So the big question becomes, is the Vanta 9 worth $4,000? And in my opinion, yes, and you could probably see that coming, but yes, in my opinion, it's absolutely worth $4 grand. Look, the fit and finish is incredibly good. The lockup is incredibly tight. Like, it's a very, very tight, especially for a 2011, because a lot of 2011s, in my experience, just tend to have a little bit more play in them, and there really is no play in this. You've got a lot of good value add features. The grip is excellent. I was very, very happy to see that. The red dot cut, very, very good. And the fact that it comes with iron sight plate on top of that, excellent. The trigger, again, it might be the best pistol trigger I've got. I'm not gonna say it is, but I'm saying we are definitely inching close if it is not. So the only couple little, you know, I'm gonna hesitate to say criticisms here that I could give the gun. I could debate either way having iron sights that co-witness inside of the dot. You know, from a tactical level, it probably makes sense. I have one other 2011 that you can run with irons or a red dot. If you take off the iron sight plate and put on a red dot, your irons do not co-witness at all. And in my experience, it just sometimes makes it a little bit cleaner because there's nothing obstructing the window at all. That said, as I'm actually shooting, if I'm focusing on proper red dot pistol mechanics and not looking for the dot, but looking through the optic at the target, the irons become a complete non-issue for me. So not a criticism, more just kind of an observation that for some people could wind up mattering. Beyond that, I will just tell you, hey, you know, it's a brand new gun to the market. You could have a little bit of a hard time finding holsters that fit the gun. The holster that I'm running in the video, for those who are gonna ask, is from RDR Gear. He actually had my pistol and made the holster from the pistol, so I know that is an option, but beyond that, I can't really coach you guys on any holster options. So, final thoughts.
So there you have it. One of the most exciting pistols to hit the market in a meaningful amount of time. And as feature-laden as the gun is, there's one thing that you can't help but notice. It has insane sex appeal. When I first got it and looked at it, I thought, that's Batman's 2011. With everything blacked out and the overall aesthetics, it's the Dark Knight's pistol. Only time and more rounds will tell the full story. But what I know right now is we're off to one hell of a start.